If I ever come across a veteran in the area that I know is struggling with either a disability claim or if they're worried about being homeless or something like that, this is the first place I send them.
Coming up on Cedar Valley today, learn about a local office making a difference in veterans' lives.
And part of history, Women's History Month, is highlighted at UNI.
And a drag king's tale. We follow the story of the only female to male drag performer in the Cedar Valley. This is Cedar Valley Today. Hello and welcome to Cedar Valley Today. I'm Ashley Davis.
And I'm Jacqueline Schutte. It started as a task taken on by a City Hall worker, then expanded to a two-person full-time job.
Cedar Valley Today's Kelsey Bemis joins us to tell us about an office that puts meaning behind filing paperwork.
Thanks, Ashley. Our veterans fight to save our country, but who fights for them? This week I found out about the workers tasked with this duty.
It may not stand out when driving through Waverly, and many probably don't know about it. But for veterans of Bremer County, this building could make all the difference.
I've just gotten a lot of help from them. And getting help helps me a lot. I can't tell you how much better off I am now than before I came in here.
Like Sable, hundreds of vets have received help from Bremer County Veteran Affairs.
This VA office has worked with around 900 veterans in the last 6 years. It may seem like it takes a large staff to carry this load, but rather it takes two individuals, Nancy Edwards and Neil Jarnigan.
Every time I come in here, I'm met with a smile, by either Neil or Nancy, and they're always willing to help, always willing to get me whatever I need.
The range of services they provide includes everything from service-connected disability compensation to trips to VA medical facilities to just providing someone to talk to.
We don't ask, what are we willing to do for a veteran, but what are we not willing to do? And that list is pretty small.
Jarnigan and Edwards each have a personal connection with the cause. Jarnigan himself was a Navy corpsman. Edwards' brother was killed while serving in Vietnam.
Unfortunately, she's been through a lot herself, so she knows what it is. And it's much easier to understand, to talk to somebody that understands.
And I've never felt that I'm just a part of an assembly line like some people feel when they deal with the VA. It's just kind of a, let's get them in here, get whatever they need as fast as possible and get them out so we can get to the next guy. And I've never felt that here.
The veterans that come into our office get something that I never did. You would go and you would ask for help, and people would pawn you off to the next phone number or to the next office. So I take pride in knowing that they don't get that here.
So while the Bremer County VA team may be small, they make up for it in service. And Edwards and Jarnigan agree that while their workload may be large, it is worth it.
I love telling veterans, thank you for your service, and telling them welcome home, whether they have been home for 40 years and never anyone told them that, or whether they're just coming home.
I wouldn't have been able to make it this far and be doing the things that I'm doing today if they wouldn't have taken that first initial, kind of leap of faith and helped me out. So I don't know where I'd be, but I know it wouldn't be as well off as I am right now.
Jarnigan and Edwards say volunteers are always welcome at their office and to events. To learn more about where to find these events, visit the Wartburg Circuit.
The UNI Freethinkers and Inquirers showcased a Peabody Award-winning documentary yesterday. The film The Lord Is Not on Trial Here Today was showcased because it is Women's History Month. The film tells the story of Vashti McCollum and her fight against the U.S. Supreme Court. The case established the separation of church and state in public schools.
We decided this was a story that was worth telling. It was one of a woman who was very courageous in speaking out against religious indoctrination. And she was threatened as a result, and she was isolated from her community as a result, but we think it's an inspiring story of standing up for what you believe in.
Police have made an arrest in regards to a fight and stabbing early Wednesday morning in Waverly. 42-year-old Woodrow John Hall of Waverly was arrested Wednesday and charged with willful injury. Hall is currently in the Bremer County Jail. Waverly police say Hall stabbed another man with a knife multiple times at the Red Fox Inn, causing a life-threatening injury.
3 people involved in a fight at Lyndale Mall in Cedar Rapids last month have been charged. Police charged 37-year-old Kenneth Keith and 2 other minors with disorderly conduct. Police say that they believe up to 10 people were involved in the fight, though no one has come forward with information since it happened.
And the sub-zero temperatures have had an effect on many of the car washes in the Cedar Valley.
Elizabeth Jewett reports.
With temperatures dropping to below zero these past winter months, many car wash owners in the Cedar Valley area say that this year has been a rough one. The winter months are usually a pretty busy time for car washes, as salt and sand on the road tend to make cars dirtier than normal, and because the weather being too cold for do-it-yourself washes, car owners usually turn to automated car washes, but for some, that hasn't been the case. With the sub-zero temperatures, the water and soap used to wash the cars run the risk of freezing during or after the wash. This poses a problem and prevents cars from being properly washed, but Rod Rittenmeyer says that because of their special automated wash, business has been great.
This year is actually a little busier than years in past. We're kind of up and down all the time. It depends on the week with the snow. If we get a lot of snow that week, we're slower that week, obviously, because streets are sloppy, but if the next couple weeks are dry, we're usually gung-ho every day, washing a lot of customer cars.
As the weather begins to warm up this spring, car wash owners expect more business as people are trying to wash the last remains of winter off of their cars. Reporting for Cedar Valley Today, I'm Elizabeth Jewett.
Thanks, Elizabeth. And Cedar Valley Today's Jesse Kielman joins us now for a first look at today's weather.
Thank you very much, Jackie. Well, if you walk outside today and you're a little confused, don't panic. This is called good weather, and we're having it for the first time in a long time here in the Cedar Valley. Current temperatures are about 30 degrees. We're going to see it climb all the way up to 38 degrees over the noon hour before dipping just a little bit for your commute home tonight at 35. Looking ahead over the weekend then, today 38, tomorrow we're going to see a high of 27 degrees. It's going to start out about 17 degrees right there in the morning, peak at 27, and then 40 degrees on Sunday. That's right, you're reading that correctly, 40 degrees on Sunday. We're going to see what that means going forward into next week and look around the state and the nation later on in my full forecast.
And schools in the Cedar Valley have had many snow days this winter. There have been a combined 15 snow days among Cedar Falls, Waverly Shell Rock, and Waterloo schools. The final day of classes for Cedar Falls is scheduled for May 29th after having 4 snow days. Waverly Shell Rock also had 4 snow days, and their last scheduled day of class is May 30th. And Waterloo schools have scheduled the last day of class to be June 2nd.
Coming up next on Cedar Valley Today, service. Wartburg students depart for service trips across the United States.
And later, we follow the story of one of the only drag kings in the Cedar Valley. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Ukraine. The country hopes to find a diplomatic way to end the crisis in the Crimea region. President Obama made the announcement in a special report yesterday. The State Department has also limited travel between the countries. Israel's military intercepted a ship on Wednesday they say was full of advanced weaponry. They believe it was headed for terrorist operations in Gaza. The military interception took place at the Red Sea and had the full consent of the crew. They also believe the weapons were manufactured in Syria. The SATs will be looking a little different soon, according to the head of the College Board. The biggest change is that the essay portion will be optional. There will still be a math and reading and writing portion. The changes will not take effect for another 2 years. There hasn't been a big change to the essay since 2005. State lawmakers are moving ahead in an effort to raise minimum wages. Hawaii passed a bill to raise their state's minimum wage to $10.10 per hour. Lawmakers in Maryland and Minnesota are also considering similar proposals, as well as cities like Seattle and Chicago. President Obama encouraged states to make changes themselves. A pregnant woman who drove her van into the ocean is now awaiting mental health evaluations, according to police. Bystanders rushed into the water when they realized her intentions. The woman had been stopped by officers just 2 hours before because of concerns about her mental health. This has been your Cedar Valley Today Top 5. Back to you, Ashley.
Later this month will be Wartburg College's drag show, hosted by the LGBT advocacy group Alliance. Cedar Valley Today's Caitlin Harback followed the story of one of this year's performers. Caitlin?
Thanks, Ashley. Jenna McKinley knew she was a lesbian when she was just 8 years old, but only 3.5 years ago, she found out how much she liked wearing fake facial hair and flannel.
By day, Jenna McKinley works as a medical equipment specialist. By night, this Waterloo woman transforms herself into a man, a drag king by the name of JQ Fauché Knight. On the weekends, Knight performs in front of crowds of nearly 300 people at Kings and Queens Tap, an alternative bar in downtown Waterloo.
We have a lot of people on any given show night. I'd say that there's almost more straight people here than there are people from the LGBT community. A lot of bachelorette parties come in to see a drag show. Even a lot of guys come in, a lot of straight men, they come in to see a show.
The bar's owner, John Hayes, says the Cedar Valley continues to support the business and says the acceptance has grown since the bar opened. The bar is involved in community events such as My Waterloo Days and the Cedar Valley Pride Fest.
When I would start to come in here just as a patron, I've seen so much change just within that small time frame of the events getting any type of criticism and or disrespect. It has been almost an amazing transition.
But behind the makeup, costumes, and cheering crowds, Knight says there are times when he feels outshined. Knight is the only drag king out of the group at Kings and Queens, and possibly the only one in the Cedar Valley.
Kings aren't well known, and I'd like to let the Cedar Valley know that Kings are just as good as the Queens. I do wish that there were more Kings to make it more diverse. As far as the Cedar Valley goes, drag king-wise, all they know is JQ.
But he says it doesn't stop him from letting people see a side of him he's not afraid to show.
Putting on a beard and binding my chest back, I don't want to say it necessarily makes me feel like a guy, but it makes me feel like somebody totally different. There's other people who it's like, I'll introduce myself to them as JQ, and they're like, oh, it's nice to meet you. And there's no questions asked. It's like I walk up there and I'm a guy.
For Cedar Valley Today, I'm Caitlin Harback.
The Wartburg College Drag Show will be on March 22nd in Newman Auditorium at 7:30 that night. This will be Knight's 4th time performing in the show. Back to you, Ashley.
And coming up, 2 throwers will try for gold at next Saturday's Indoor Track and Field Nationals. See how they thrive off each other's success later in sports. And we'll have a full look at your weekend forecast. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Good morning and welcome back to Cedar Valley Today. Current temperatures is about 30 degrees out there. It's going to rise all the way up to 38 degrees later on today. It's going to come down just a little bit. 35 degrees, still rather balmy for your drive home tonight. And looking ahead to tomorrow, you're going to start the day off about 17 degrees. That will rise to about 26 degrees, peak over the afternoon at 27, and come back down to 25 as we head into the evening. But we will be having partially sunny. When we look around the state, Sioux City, we're looking at 36 degrees, 46 degrees in Council Bluffs. We're seeing about a 40% chance of precipitation over there. Over here in Des Moines, we're seeing about a 30% chance of precipitation. And as we head into eastern Iowa, we are looking at 20% chance of precipitation. We'll be seeing that possibly tonight around 5:30, between 5:30 and about 1 a.m. is when we will be seeing some of that. Looking around the nation then, in Seattle, 54 degrees and raining per usual. Of course, Los Angeles is 75 and sunny. Houston is 66, Miami 79 and sunny, and Washington, D.C. and New York are both at 39 and seeing a little bit of that wintry mix. And looking ahead to your forecast, Sunday we're looking at 40 degrees. Monday a balmy 44 degrees. Tuesday 38 with some showers, but at least it won't be snow, and 34 degrees on Wednesday. So things are heating up for us here in the Cedar Valley. And now over to Ashley Davis.
Thanks, Jesse. 75 Wartburg students are taking off today for 8 service trips around the United States. Wartburg Service Trips student director Jenna Manders joins us now to tell us about the service these students will be doing during their winter break. Thanks for joining us. So, yeah. So can you kind of tell us what a typical service trip consists of?
There really is no typical service trip. It really just depends on where students are going and what they're working with. So we have a few trips going to work with disaster relief. We have one going out to Colorado to deal with the recent floods, and then also a trip going all the way back to New Orleans to still deal with the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. So those just deal with really rebuilding and things. And then you have trips that deal with poverty and just different other areas. There's really no typical service trip.
So where are all the service trips going?
We have one going to New Orleans, one going to Colorado, one going to Arkansas. There's one in Virginia, Kansas City, St. Louis, and Western Iowa, as well as San Antonio, Texas.
Okay, and you mentioned some are going to be working with like poverty, and what are some of the other groups going to be doing?
There's a habitat group that's going to San Antonio. One of the groups is going to work on the Heifer International Ranch in Arkansas. The 2 disaster relief trips, as well as the trip to Virginia, is working at a state park.
And what do students gain by going on a service trip?
There's so much to gain by going on a service trip. You learn so much about yourself, about a community that you've likely never been to, as well as the people and the work that you're doing. You can be building homes for somebody at Habitat for Humanity and learn their story, or just the people you affect in so many different ways.
And who decides where the service trips go each year?
The students really get to decide where they get to go. The leaders interview in about September, and then they come up with a plan on where they want to go, who their advisor is going to be, how they're going to get there, and we're really just there to support them.
That's great. And so who leads the service trips?
It's all student-led, so 2 student leaders. Usually they can apply separately or as a pair. If they apply separately, we try to pair them with somebody in their same interest and who wants to go to the same type of place. And then they work with an advisor, and they do all the leading themselves.
And then what would you say when is the most popular time for a student to go on a service trip?
This year, it's actually been quite variable. We had Thanksgiving break trips for the first time, so that was a pretty popular trip, as well as winter break usually gets a lot of students just because it's in the middle of the semester.
All right, well, thank you for joining us today, Jenna.
Thank you.
And all the best wishes to the service trips, and we'll be right back after the break.
Coming up. Welcome back to Cedar Valley today. Wartburg's throwers have been extremely successful this season, and our Seth Nutting took a look at why.
Last weekend, Wartburg swept the men's and women's IIAC track and field championships at Luther College, crowning over a dozen individual champions in the process. 2 instrumental members on the team heading to nationals, juniors Colt Feltus and Kayla Heeman. Shot put and weight throw specialists, the 2 are putting up record-breaking numbers. Assistant coach Melissa Norton expects these kind of results.
This is what I expected from the beginning, because you're bringing in competition, they're competing with each other at practice every day, so they're prepared to go into a meet to compete.
Their biggest competitors might not be the opposing teams they face, but amongst each other.
Kayla and I have this, well, whether she wanted to admit it or not, but we have this little competition about being Coach Norton's first national champ.
Sometimes it meets the women throw first, sometimes men throw first. I mean, so we're always competing with each other. So if I throw good, he'll say, oh yeah, I'm going to come out, I'm going to beat you. I mean, so we throw it back and forth.
Not only is there a desire to beat each other, but to live up to the hype of their coach. Norton herself is a former 3-time Iowa Conference shot put champion and All-American during her time at Wartburg.
Well, every day I come to practice, I feel like, we gotta outdo Coach Norton, and not just, outdo each other. We gotta impress Coach Norton every day.
Come a week from Saturday, the goal is the same as it's been in the past, to win a team national championship. As far as individuals go,
anything's possible. And there will be a national champion one day, and it could be in 2 weeks.
Reporting for Sports Night, I'm Seth Nutting.
Top-ranked Wartburg wrestling team is in uncharted waters as they head into nationals.
The Knights wrestling team will travel to Cedar Rapids this next weekend to compete for the Division III National Championship. The Knights will be looking to accomplish a feat other teams can only dream of. The team will be going for a 4th straight national title. Senior wrestler Ken Anderson said the Knights' mindset is all on winning, individual and team.
I think all our mindsets are the same, regardless of seed, weight, who it is. You're going to go in there expecting to win.
Anderson will be going for his 3rd straight individual title, while fellow seniors Landon Williams tries for his 2nd overall title and Cole Welter goes for his 1st. Individual titles are important, said Williams, but he talked more about the team aspect and when he was a freshman.
We started talking about how cool it would be to win 4 in a row, and each year we've won it, and finishing off this year would be like the cherry on top.
Winning 4 straight titles is a difficult task. However, Welter said the Knights are up for the challenge.
You know, in college I wanted to be 4-4 as well, and that's the reason I chose this place. And, you know, it's something that's going to be special, something that we'll remember, so it's something I really want to get done.
The Knights have 9 wrestlers going to nationals led by head coach Eric Keller, all looking for a 4-peat.
To end like that would be perfect. I mean, that's the ideal ending. I mean, I can't look at it or think about it any other way. I came here expecting that and training for that, and I want to leave with exactly that.
Reporting for Cedar Valley Today, I'm Ryan Jorgensen.
That's it for sports today. Be sure to check out wartburgcircuit.org for nationals coverage. We'll be right back.
While promoting her upcoming world tour, Katy Perry she took her chance at doing the weather for its day down under. Perry managed to pronounce a few cities correctly for an Australian program's weather forecast, but there were several that tripped her up. She told viewers that if they didn't understand her forecast, they could probably find the weather on their phone.
And Jesse is here with us for one more look at our weather for today.
Thank you very much, Ashley. Well, current temperatures is about 30 degrees. We're looking at a really nice day here in the Cedar Valley. It's going to be 38 degrees later on today around the noon hour before dropping down to 35 for that commute home. And one last look at our 5-day forecast. We're going to see that it's going to be 40 degrees on Monday, or 44 degrees on Monday and 34 on Wednesday.
Thank you for watching Cedar Valley Today.
Have a good day.